Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. We're both all cozy in our beds.
I know.
We should call it Cozy Mornings with ENSELE.
I love that. Yes. Join us in bed.
Bring your coffee or tea.
Right? Right? I love it.
Last time we talked about we were going to share our personal stories with brain optimization.
Wow. It's interesting because when I got involved with the brain work, obviously I knew I had to experience what my clients were going to experience. And I feel, even though I've gone through my own share of tragedies in life, traumas, trials, tribulations, and stress, and all that stuff, I feel very blessed to be healthy. I think that's because, understanding energy, you can learn how to always be healthy. And I was blessed to be in a great upbringing with my family. My brothers, I love my family, a great relationship. And I got married, and I lost my husband to crime. He committed a crime, and it was heartbreaking because it was, again, over money, and it was stupid, and it was like around 9/11. And so my kids lost their father, and I lost my husband, and it was so painful and so tragic. And I didn't know if he was going to go away to prison day one, week one, month one, and we kind of had to sweep it under the rug and just go on living our lives until he was tried and convicted, and he pled guilty, and he was going to serve time, and it was a federal offense, and it was really sad. And again, I have no judgment. We can never judge other people. One of the best lessons I've learned in my life is you should never judge anyone. We all are here to live our journeys, and no one walks in our own shoes. So even though that was a bad decision and it had terrible consequences to him, to his family, and to his also his outside family, mother, father, etc., it was an extremely traumatic time for my kids and myself. Adjusting with that just after 9/11, where my business literally had no more business, and I had babies. I had a baby and a 2-year-old and a single mom, and I was not living in a state where I had help. Anyway, fast forward. So fast forward, I'm doing the brain stuff. I'm in California. This is 10 years later. And, I have a pretty big mark in the healthcare industry. I was speaking, and everyone who heard me speak, if I laughed, which it was, people were like, that was funny, or why are you laughing? And I'm like, I'm laughing in my head. Or if someone really got me to, like, I was going to really, really go laughing like crazy, I would make this caw sound like, ah! You know what I mean? I just like, and people would make fun of me, and they would always know which room I was speaking in at a conference because they'd hear this loud, like, ah, and I'm like, gosh, I don't think I had this laugh all my life as a kid. And it's just kind of like, that's interesting. So, but it was just a laugh. Like, it was not like I had a problem. So when I learned about brain optimization, I didn't do it because I was like, I want to fix something. I had nothing in my own mind and body. There was nothing wrong. I had no problems. I healed, and I was moved on, and all was well. But little did I know, I was locked in from expression. I do remember, like, people trying to scare me. I couldn't scream. Laughter would come. I couldn't laugh. And I never related the two. I didn't put them together. And I did 45 minutes of my first brain optimization session, and we were as trainers, we were putting each other in and monitoring and learning from each other. So my first 45 minutes, as soon as I had the sensors off my head after my 45-minute session, I started laughing and laughing and laughing, and then the other provider started laughing, and we went out to dinner, and we were laughing so hard. I was just laughing, and it was so contagious. Everyone was just laughing, and my stomach hurt, my cheeks hurt. Like it was just painful to laugh anymore. Like tears were just rolling down my face, and it was just like I just kept making everyone else laugh, and we nearly got kicked out of the restaurant, and then I went home and I just kept laughing, and it was just like this release. And then ever since that day, I laugh like a normal person. I laugh like ha ha ha, like a normal person would. And what's amazing is I never put those things together. And when I got certified in licensed trainer, as I was saying, we had to work on 100 friends and family before we could open our doors to our clients. And so I'm like, okay, I have 2 kids. They're amazing. Like, they don't have any problems. But actually, my son, it was interesting. He was potty trained at age 2, but all of a sudden, not, like he had all of a sudden not like, well, later in life, right? After we had this trauma event of ours, of him losing his dad, that he started to pee the bed. And he was starting to become a young teenager. Like he was 11, 12, 13, peeing the bed. And I'm like, this is crazy. Where's this coming from? And like, I remember researching everywhere about bedwetting and what you can do. And one minute I'm like sympathetic, and that next minute I'm thinking, oh, he needs attention. Then I'd get mad, and then I'd be understanding again, and I just couldn't figure it out. And then when I did the brain optimization on him, that was his trauma, and his brain resolved itself, and his mind to body connection, which is the centrals, unlocked. Like when he's sleeping, I have to pee. Okay, now I need to wake up. Now I need to go to the bathroom. Whereas before it was locked. It was locked down. It couldn't communicate. His mind could not communicate to his body. And it took him like a couple weeks, and he never peed now he's a beautiful 17-year-old, and he's never peed the bed since. And that is incredible, because when parents have their children peeing the bed, there's probably a link to something very traumatic that happened. Could have been when it was in utero, when the baby is in utero. Maybe the mom was going through depression, or was abused, or had a car accident, or maybe it was through childbirth, or maybe it was through some unconscious something or other that the kid didn't even have words for at the moment. Well, then my daughter, I started doing her treatments, and what was interesting is she had to get an IEP, and she was a 6th grader just entering into junior high. And you know how bullying and all this stuff is very prevalent in schools, especially starting at around that age. Kids really judge each other about how they look and what they do and what they wear, and oh, this person's retarded, they're going to special ed school, whatever. And my daughter was like mortified about that. She would have to like face this, having an IEP, and it wasn't all her life. Like, this is just, again, from the trauma, and she couldn't speak. So when I wanted her to say something to me, she was like, mom, blah, blah. She didn't have a stutter, but she couldn't get the words out. And vice versa. Like when I was trying to tell my daughter something, it was overload for her. She was like, even 2 sentences too fast was like, whoa, mom, slow down. It just couldn't go in. It wasn't soaking in. And so that was happening in school. It was reflective in her learning. And I did 2 months work with her brain, and the teachers didn't even know what I was doing. And they called me and they said, your daughter is doing so well. We don't need to have an IEP for her anymore unless you want it. And my daughter's like, hell no. And so my daughter, from that point on, she made A's, straight A's. School came easy to her, learning came easy to her, communication came easy to her. And she got her first job at 14. She moved to New York at 17. She has her own career now. She's doing so amazing. So, when people have a disease or a diagnosis, oftentimes it comes first from a trauma, a stress, an emotional response to something that happened in someone's life. And so that non-physical sometimes then shows up in the physical. And so we can use the brain to unlock and to heal and to resolve those things. And those are my personal stories.
Thank you.
Know,
that was
personal, but amazing and miraculous because it hits home on so many levels. You know, like here I was, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing for me to fix, but little, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Exactly. And that's the beautiful part too about like our body scan, even just, you know, when our clients come in, they're like, I don't think anything's wrong with me. It's like, well, it's, you know, if there is something that shows up, that it's a moment to be empowered, and then we can move forward from there and you know, create your own customized protocol with ENSELE so that you can get better. But the brain optimization is a key part of everything that we do with ENSELE, because it is mind-body connection, and they are literally connected. So that's important. Thank you for sharing that, Selene.
You're welcome. And here we are all snuggled in our beds because, you know, it's quarantine time. And so you can get in bed with Gina and I and share your stories. But Gina, tell me yours. I mean, you've been working with ENSELE. It feels like years, because you are like me in the sense that this is what you live for. Your life's purpose is to help each and every person that struggles, whether it's emotional pain, physical pain, spiritual pain. And you know, you were introduced to ENSELE through another wonderful former provider, and she and you were friends, and she walks you in, and I'm like, you're hired. I'm like, yes. When can you start? Do you remember that day?
I do. I'll never forget that day. Yeah. I'll give a little bit of a background. So my entire life, like, you know, you just mentioned, I've wanted to help people in whatever way that was, and I just never really had the right platform. But I was constantly helping those who needed it. And basically, last year in total, I lost 11 people, and so I was kind of going through a rut in my life. I was outside in my backyard, and this former provider was with me. She's a very good friend of mine. I love her to death. And, you know, I was sitting there, I was fire dancing, and then I sat down, and she goes, you know, your passion is to really help people. And I was like, I know, and that's why I don't want to work just to work. I want to work and doing something, whether I'm getting paid or not, and something that fuels me and what my purpose is in this life. I mean, I was crying to her. I was hysterical. And mind you, I was very depressed and felt very vacant, if you will, just because these people that I lost weren't just close friends. They were like my brothers and close family members. We keep talking, and she goes, oh my gosh, I don't know why I haven't told you this. ENSELE, I have to introduce you to Selene. I'm like, okay, let me come in and see. And I walked in, and I think it was within like 5 minutes of you and I talking, you were like, when can you start? And that moment changed my entire life. My entire purpose for being here had a purpose all of a sudden, and I fit in where I was for the first time in my life. And I've never been so passionate about something, but the fact that I get to call it my work, which it isn't work, is a blessing. And this story is super emotional. And even now, I find myself, when I go through things, I just lost my brother, but when I go through things, because of the brain optimization, because of what I'm able to do at ENSELE, it hits me differently now. Whereas before, it would bring me to my knees, you know, and really, I would go into a deep, deep hole. I'm extroverted, you know, and when I used to get really upset about losing somebody, I would kind of just cut off, and I still do it, but the most amazing thing happened. So one of the people that I lost was a lover, and the other one was my best friend in the entire world. He was a brother from another life, but those two really hit me home. And I was doing one of our brain modalities, and I was laying down, and I had an outer body experience where I swear I got visited by them. I was flying over my old home in Malibu.
Was this when you had your brain optimization, during a session?
Yeah, this was during a session. And I just remember I actually looked at myself sitting in the chair I was in. I had a complete outer body experience and was visited by them.
Amazing.
Yeah, and my biggest problem is I felt like I never got to say goodbye. And I felt like in that moment I got to say goodbye, but also know that they're still with me. And it was just a very spiritual moment for me. But so my personal experience with brain optimization and the effects that it has is a couple days ago I lost somebody else, and it was very sad because they took their own life. And the way that I dealt with it, the way I was able to process it, it didn't rock me, the wrong way. I was able to actually feel the emotions and work through it. So having done brain optimization to myself, more than a handful of times, many times, I see a difference in the way that because I'm very emotional, the way that I'm able to process things, which is so important, because whether you're holding it in or it's a lot out, both can be exhausting on your cells to a cellular level. If it affects your body too much, you can go and make yourself sick. If you don't, it could make you sick. So that's my story with brain optimization. And really what I'm able to do now is offer my friends and family and even strangers. I mean, like, I have stories too of clients who've called me. We were on the phone for 45 minutes because they had extreme OCD and they couldn't make a decision. And I'm like, just come in. And then 3 months later, their brain's in complete balance and they're off medications and they're
typically in under 30 days, right? That's what we see in under 30 days. People who've struggled with sleep or OCD or anxiety or whatever, in under 30 days, they are a new person.
Something I want to mention too here is that if you know anybody who's struggling with suicidal thoughts or extremely depressed, we have so many amazing ways to help them. And like I said, like she said too, like, reach out to us. We're here for you. A beautiful thing about ENSELE too is it's a personal experience, very personal. We 24/7 providers who are here for you. Me and Selene and others are here to help you on your journey to wellness and really stick by your side, because it is a journey. But my personal experience is that, and now I get to help those who deserve healing and deserve to stay on this planet a little longer, facilitate their own healing and really get better, because we're all struggling sometimes. And this is a beautiful way to really get your brain, your body, and your spirit in alignment.
Better time than now, when we have the entire earth stopped in its tracks, quarantined to stay home. It's a time for reflection. It's a time for self-growth. It's a time for learning. It's a time for betterment.
Yeah.
And whether it's, bettering ourselves, getting ourselves healthier, stronger, immune systems, whatever, helping our family, helping our neighbors, So, again, anyone watching this, please share, because it doesn't matter where they are, is we can, through our rental program, and we do take insurance, and we can help you. There's so many things we can do. We've helped veterans, we've helped people of all ages, all conditions, and I love it was very touching. I appreciate you telling me your story and how much it's helped you recover from your losses, as well as deal with new losses. And I know how passionate you are, and I know you're my sister in a way, like, because you're an angel to be on this earth to do this. I mean, like, I'm the same way. The second my eyes pop up, I am like, okay, I'm ready. Mm-hmm. And it's addicting in a way. It's so fulfilling, because people are like, don't you ever have any problems, Selene? I'm like, I have no problems because I'm focused on other people. Mm-hmm. And that's the best thing to do, is when you serve others, you're getting served.
Yeah.
And there's no greater happiness than that feeling of helping someone.
Um,
So if you're watching this and you want to share or join us for more time in bed with Gina and Selene, you know, sex sells, we got to use what we can.
Exactly. Mornings with Gina and Selene in our beds.
Yes.
But, so again, if you know anybody struggling and you want to keep it anonymous too, just know that you can give them our number. It's on our website. You can email us, they can email us, and it's completely confidential. We are here on this plane on this earth to help people. So if you know somebody who needs help, we're here for you, okay? And join us next time for Time in Bed with Selene and Gina.
All right. Bye, everybody.